You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 26. Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset tools and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go! Welcome back to the podcast. How do you get a man out of your system after having had a situationship and realized that he wasn't actually interested in anything serious? What if you really like your life as a strong, independent woman and you want a relationship, but you're not sure you want it enough to go through the efforts of dating? And how do you get more matches in the dating app without compromising your criteria and values? Today, I'm answering questions from listeners and women in my community. Questions that I think many of you might have, and therefore I thought it can be useful for you to hear the response. And I'm going to do more of these Q&A episodes, and the next time I'll let you know a few weeks ahead of time so you can get a chance to send me all your questions, and I'll record an episode with your questions and my answers so you can all benefit from that, and it will of course be 100% anonymous, like it is today. So just a reminder, you can still get a free coaching session with me if you write a review on Apple Podcast. And this coaching session is not a consultation call. It's not one of these calls where we talk about your challenges, I tell you how I can help you, and you decide if you want to work with me. This is a call where we do 100% coaching. You tell me, of course, about your challenges, and then I coach you on that and I give you support. And I will do one more round of these, and next time I'm going to choose 3 people to get a free coaching session. So if you feel this podcast is helping you and you want to recommend it to other women, and you also want the opportunity to get coached on your specific dating challenges, then leave me a review in Apple Podcast. Alright, so let's get started. How do I get a man out of my head and move on when I had a situationship with him and I know that he wasn't good for me? That is so important in dating, and I want to answer your question first, how to get over him, how to move on, and then I'm going to share some tips on how to avoid even getting into that situation in the first place. So if we start by looking at what a situationship even is, because maybe you're not familiar with this concept. I wasn't a few years ago. So I went in and Googled it, and I found that it's a casual, undefined, commitment-free relationship. So if you're looking for a serious commitment, that of course is not what you want. You don't want a situationship. But how do you know that it's a situationship and not just the early stages of a real commitment? I would assume that in this case, the man that you were dating had somehow expressed that he wasn't ready or he wasn't interested in something serious. He might have told you that he's not looking for something like that right now. Or his behavior has shown you that he isn't consistent, and that is not a good sign. Anyways, the situation is that you have developed some feelings for a man that you might be interested in having something serious with, and he is not responding to that. He is not interested in the same commitment. And now, of course, you want to let go and move on. First of all, I want you to acknowledge that your emotions don't really care if it's a situationship or a relationship. You can have just as strong emotions for someone that you have a situationship with. So you want to treat it like if it was a real breakup from a real relationship. Because the thing is, when you are in a situationship and that ends, you might tell yourself that you have to move on and you shouldn't be feeling sad. You should get back on the dating app again really fast because it was just a situationship. So I want you to pay attention to that and allow yourself to feel sad for a moment. It's important that you don't judge your feelings. Allow yourself to feel whatever comes up for you. Sadness, disappointment, heartbreak, but also remind yourself of the reality. Because if we take an honest look at reality here, the situation is that he doesn't want a commitment with you. And I know it's a bit hard to say, but I want you to hear this with love. Because you deserve someone who is absolutely crazy about you and who feels that he is the luckiest man on earth to have found you. Not someone who's in doubt or someone who is certain that he doesn't want to move forward with you. So remind yourself every time you feel sad that he isn't a man who is able to see your value. He isn't your ideal partner because your ideal partner wouldn't risk losing you. And then you want to also notice that very often when we miss someone that we know with our mind is not right for us, is also because we just miss the idea of him, the idea of having a relationship with someone like him. So you want to use this as valuable information to yourself. This is a sign that there's a longing in you. This is something that's important to you. Your unconscious self is telling you, do not forget that we want this. We're looking for a loving commitment. It's important to prioritize. And you also want to pay close attention to your thoughts about yourself in this process. We can easily make it mean something negative about ourselves when someone doesn't want to commit to us, such as, I wasn't good enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm less worthy, and so on. And that's only creating more suffering for you. So don't make it mean all that. It has nothing to do with you. This is in his emotional capacity, and nothing is wrong with you. You're just not a fit for each other. And then you want to focus on doing the things that light you up outside of dating, not to distract yourself, but to give you some positive energy and reconnect with yourself and who you are. And of course, if you listen to my podcast, you know that I'm also going to say now that I want you to open yourself up to seeing that there are other men in this world. Just go for a coffee or a walk, just connect with someone. Let your brain see that they exist and you can have a nice time with someone else. Even if it's a bit low-key, so to speak, just a 30-minute coffee break or a walk in the park is already showing your brain that there are other men out there. And then I also want to give you some tips on how to avoid this in the first place. And I'm going to give you 3 tips. First of all, I want you to date multiple men at the same time and do not become exclusive before one of them either asks you for exclusivity or shows you that he is ready to commit. And of course, tip number 2, which is related to the first one, this also means don't get intimate too early with any of them. Because if you're looking for a serious long-term commitment, you want to focus on developing the emotional connection first, really getting to know them before you start feeling attached because of all the hormones that are running in our brain when we get intimate with someone. And then the third tip is slow down the dating process. Don't get too attached early on. Let your emotions develop in a pace where your knowledge of the man and his commitment readiness also develops, so that your emotions are not far ahead of what you even know about this man and your experience in how he shows up and how he treats you on a longer term. So I hope this was useful and that it will help you let go of the man that wasn't actually ready for a commitment with you and open yourself up to meeting someone who is. The second question I'm going to answer today is, what if I really like my life as a strong, independent, single woman and I do want a relationship, but I'm not sure I want it enough to go through the efforts of dating? So it's like you think that the efforts you have to make to find him, it might be much harder than the joy and satisfaction of having found him. It's sort of a cost versus benefit evaluation. And first of all, what I want to tell you here, dating from the energy of loving your life and not feeling needy or desperate is actually the best way you can date, and is also the most attractive for a man. You want to stay grounded and connected to your life and do all the things that light you up outside of dating. That's going to make you more resilient and less desperate, which again will allow you to continue dating until you meet the right man. But if you tell yourself that finding a partner might not be worth the efforts of dating, you will want to investigate your thoughts about the effort of dating and your possibilities of finding love. And also your thoughts about why you even want a partner, because you are not obliged, you don't have to find a partner. So try to get clear on your reasons for wanting a partner by imagining your daily life with him. What are some things you would like to do with a partner? What would a relationship that adds to your life look like? And then you want to challenge your thinking about the effort. Do a brainstorm on why exactly you think it's a big effort And here you want to get really specific. Maybe you think it's difficult because you already tried and you didn't see great results. And if that is the case, I want you to get curious about why it hasn't worked for you in the past. What was the problem? Did you not have enough dates? Or did you not like the men that you met on dates? Or did you like them but they were not interested in something serious? So get curious about exactly why you think it hasn't worked in the past so you can try to change how you date. We want to continuously evaluate and adjust the dating process and try to learn from what we do when it doesn't work. And an important part of this is, of course, also mindset. I talk a lot about mindset, and it really is important. What you believe about yourself, dating, and your ability to find love. You are not limited by your past. You can choose to believe that you can create a different result in your future than what you had in your past. And that is crucial for your dating success. And evaluating your mindset is probably one of the more challenging things to do on our own. Here, it's actually good to have a coach. But you can evaluate and try out new strategies, your actions. That's something you can experiment with yourself. And when you decide to shift something in the way you date, like for instance, changing your criteria or changing how much time you want to give a man before you decide if it's a yes or a no, this will help you believe more that it might be possible to create a different result in the future than what you had in the past. And it could also make you feel more motivated. And you want to remember here, the end goal of dating is to find someone who makes your life even better. But in order to do that, you need to go on a journey, which is also part of what makes your life better, the journey itself. But you need to get yourself into the right mindset and put yourself out there. And there will be times where you feel less motivated, but that's where you want to remember your why. You want to remember why you're even doing this and make a commitment to yourself to continue dating until you find your perfect match. So the last question I'm going to answer today is, how do I get more matches in the dating app without compromising my criteria and values? And this is a woman who has decided on the following criteria. He needs to write something substantial about himself in the profile. This needs to overlap with her values, which is having a good character, looking for a long-term monogamous relationship, and being open-minded. And then her question is, how can I get more matches? How do I swipe without saying no to too many? First of all, many men don't really know how to present themselves well in a dating app. And the same goes for a lot of women as well. So you want to get really specific about what you mean when you say something substantial. You mentioned 3 criteria, which are good character, looking for long-term monogamous relationship, and being open-minded. And out of these 3, I would say that the only one you can truly verify from a dating app profile is what he's looking for if he's mentioning what kind of relationship he's looking for. But then the other 2, they are very different to spot in an app, and I'll explain here why. If we start by looking at the good character, what does that even mean? What are the signs he has a good character? And whatever that means to you, he could potentially write all the right things and still not be that way in reality. He could think himself that he has a good character, and he could tell you that he is kind, reliable, and honest. But these are traits you want to see and experience in real life over a longer time. It's easy to say, I'm an honest and trustworthy person, but it doesn't mean that he actually is. On the contrary, he could also be thinking that honesty is a given. That's so obvious, so why would he even bother writing about it? It's to be expected from everyone that we are honest. Regardless of what he writes, you want to experience that while getting to know him. And the same is true for open-minded. How do you even see that in a profile? What does he have to write to make you think he's open-minded? Again, you want to figure this out in person. See for yourself and get clear with yourself. What does it mean? And how will you know if he's open-minded? This means something different for different people. I once had a client who felt it was really important that a man was open-minded in the sense that he had to have an understanding of her being interested in spirituality, meditation, and yoga. And this is something that's really easy to find out on a date. You can just share your interest and see how he reacts and see if he asks you a question or if he resonates with what you're saying. And I also sometimes hear women say that they want a man who is knowledgeable about something that's important to them. For instance, if they're expats, they might want the man to know something about their culture. And here I would advise that it might be more interesting for you to see that he's curious to get to know about it, and he wants to hear your version. He wants you to tell him about your culture. And all of this is something that's so much easier to unpack in person on a real date and not in the dating profile. It's a bit like wanting a man to have a great sense of humor. Sometimes you will see in the profile that he seems to have a sense of humor that you like, but again, you want to experience that in person. It's easy to say, I have a great sense of humor, but you want to see that, you want to experience that. So I would say, to conclude, stick to the criteria about what he's looking for, because that's important, but then try to let go of the other two as swiping criteria. You might want to focus on the absence of red flags and a few basic criteria that are met, such as he shows his face and eyes on the photos, and he fits your age bracket and geographical distance. And if he says something about his education, you want to just check that you're about the same level, unless that doesn't matter to you, but for most women, that's actually important. You don't need to feel attracted by the profile, but you also don't want to feel turned off by him. And if there's something interesting about the profile on top of that, it's a plus. So don't expect a lot of boxes to be ticked off just from the text and just from the profile. It doesn't mean you can't have those criteria when you get to know him, but I wouldn't put them up in front or before you even swipe right to him. If you want too many things to be right already from the profile, there's a risk that you won't get enough matches to go on regular dates and that you will miss out on someone who could actually be a good match for you. So try this out with less criteria and only the very concrete one that you can clearly say yes or no to, and see how that goes. And then, of course, if you get too many matches, you want to narrow down again, but try it out first and be conscious about your choice of criteria. And then on top of that, I would encourage you to get really clear on what exactly you mean by having a good character and being open-minded, and how you can get some clues about that on a date. Some of these things you can get a feeling of already on the first date, and of course you want to see how it develops over time as well. What are the signs that he has a good character and he's open-minded? What do you need to see from him to get confirmation that he is that or that he isn't? So try to be more open in the beginning when you swipe, and then use your criteria about good character and being open-minded at a later stage, and get really clear on how you will know if he fits that or not. So this is what I had for you today. I hope it was useful, and I want to thank the women who sent me these questions, because by doing that, you not only help yourself, you also help a lot of other women who are in the same situation. And if you want to get more personalized support with your dating journey and you're curious to know what it would be like to work with me, you can book a free consultation call on the link in the show notes or on my website, lærkethelovecoach.com, Laerke. And this is a free 45 minutes call where we talk about your dating challenges and I share with you how I can help you. And the purpose is for you to get clarity if this is something for you. There is no obligation other than to make the decision that feels right for you. So thank you so much for listening today and have a wonderful week. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.